Hey guys, my name is Emily if you haven't seen my face before, and today I'm making a video on the books that I read in the month of December and January. I was making a video every month to talk about the books that I read the past month, but I only read 2 books in December, so I didn't really want to make a video just on 2 books. I waited to see how I did in January, so I ended up reading another 5 books in January, so I have a total of 7 books to talk to you guys about. Feel free to let me know down below if you guys would prefer that I do these videos every single month, or if you would prefer a recent reads video every 2 months or so. I was also thinking about making a reading vlog. I just got the audiobook for They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, I think is who wrote it, but I'm really excited to read that book and I've heard it's really good and emotional. So I was thinking about making a reading vlog reading that book. You guys can let me know down below if that's something you would like or not, because I'm open to it definitely if that's something that you guys would want. So unfortunately, the 2 books that I did read in December weren't really my favorite. The first one was One of Us Is Next. This is by Karen McManus, and this is the sequel to One of Us Is Lying, which is a really popular book about a bunch of teenagers who get stuck in detention. One of them dies, and it's kind of a mystery to figure out who is the one responsible for this student dying. One of Us Is Next follows Maeve, who is the younger sister to one of the characters in the original One of Us Is Lying, as well as a couple other main characters, and they are living their lives in high school whenever they start getting anonymous texts from someone who is trying to play a game of truth or dare. So whoever is picked has to complete a dare, or one of their secrets, which is truth, gets spread around school. So they really have the choice of what they want to do, and it doesn't take long before this game starts to take a deadly turn. So there is a lot of drama in this book, and I was really looking forward to it because I really loved One of Us Is Lying. It was amazing for me. I was really not expecting the end, so I was really hoping that there would be some of that in this book, but it did leave me feeling a little bit disappointed. I wasn't really attached to any of the characters, and I wasn't invested like I was with the original, which is a bit sad, but I still enjoyed the drama of the game. That was really interesting for me. That was a new concept that I haven't really read anything about, like a deadly game of truth or dare, so that kept me entertained. So I wasn't bored while I was reading it, but I really didn't feel as much as I wanted to, so I ended up giving this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. If you were a really big fan of One of Us Is Lying and you love that universe, I would recommend it for you because there are some of the same characters as the original, and everything that happened is pretty much right after the first book. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would recommend it. If you haven't read the first book, I would definitely recommend picking that one up before starting this one, because there are quite a few Easter eggs that you wouldn't really understand if you haven't read the first one. The second book that I read in December was Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. I don't really know how you say that last name, so I'm sorry if I butchered it, but this book is about a little red notebook that gets left behind by Lily. She puts it in a bookstore and she leaves it for a boy to find. And eventually, one boy named Dash does come across this red notebook, and there are kind of a few different challenges for him to complete in this book, which he does, and they end up passing this notebook back and forth by completing the dares that they leave for each other. And they communicate like this for a while without actually seeing each other for quite a bit until they actually meet up. And I really liked the first half of this book. I thought it was really cute. I love the idea of passing the notebook back and forth, and the interactions between the characters was great, but unfortunately the second half of this book really fell short for me. I found there was a lot of build-up to them finally meeting in person, and once they did, I just didn't feel anything. It was kind of anticlimactic in my opinion. I didn't really care about any of the other characters, all of the side characters, their families, nothing. Didn't really care about that. So I gave this book a 2.5 out of 5 stars, not just because I only liked half of the book, but because I felt like there were things missing from it that would make me invested. But I would still recommend this because a lot of people like it if you are looking for a cute little romance, if this plot sounded interesting to you. I was really looking forward to starting off January with a bang, so I picked up All of Your Twisted Secrets by Diana Urban, and this is a book that I had on my to-be-read list for quite some time. I always wanted to pick this one up because I heard a lot of good things about it. And if you aren't familiar with it, it's about a group of 6 teenagers who all get a scholarship reward in high school, and so they are invited to a dinner to celebrate the scholarship. And once they get there, they all get locked in their room, and they're stuck in that room with a bomb and a syringe that has some poison in it, and they are told that they have to choose one of them to kill or else the bomb will go off and they all will die. So there is this thriller aspect as well as mystery to figure out who is the one who put these kids in here, why are they here, what is the point of all this. So you're trying to solve this along the way as you read with the characters, and the story goes back and forth between real time, like them stuck in the room as the time is counting down, back to their real lives in high school and how their relationships formed and their interactions with each other. and eventually why this whole thing happened. So this book was unfortunately very disappointing for me. I felt like it was very anticlimactic. The ending was something that I expected. I saw it coming probably within halfway through the book. In my opinion, all of the characters were stereotypes, so they didn't really have much depth to them. I didn't really enjoy reading about them that much, and there was the letdown at the end. So this book was a 2 out of 5 for me. I did still feel excited about the plot and this timer going down, and there was this build-up, but it wasn't really worth it for me. But at the same time, I have heard a lot of great things about this book, so I know a lot of other people really liked it. So if you are still invested in this plot, then I would give it a go, and I hope that you enjoyed it more than I do. But if you're looking for something that will surprise you, I don't think this is the thriller for you. I did feel like I was in a little bit of a reading slump after finishing those 3 books because I didn't really like any of them, but then I picked up the audiobook for The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This book is about a woman named Anna who has agoraphobia, so she has a hard time leaving her house. She has a lot of fear with that, and so she's picked up the hobby of people watching. She watches people from her window, and one day she sees something happen that is pretty scary for her, and it creates a bunch of things that happen after that. It's kind of like a snowball effect. More and more stuff happens after she witnesses this event. And she also has a drinking problem, so there's a lot of going back and forth between, is this narrator reliable? Can we trust what she's saying? And there's a lot of plot twists in this book that really had me flip-flopping. I was so sure I knew what was happening, then I wouldn't, something else would happen, and I'd be so sure I understood what was happening, and then something else would happen. I definitely enjoy a thriller a lot more if I can't see the ending coming, so if you're looking for something that will surprise you, I think this will be a good one. I also really relate to the main character because I am also someone who has agoraphobia, so it was nice to read about that, and I felt really connected with the main character. She was a very interesting character to read along with. I love the audiobook. You can really hear the emotion in the characters when they're talking. So I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5. The only reason I didn't give this a 5 out of 5 is because the final plot twist wasn't as satisfying as I wanted. It felt like it was missing a little bit of something, so I didn't give this a perfect rating, but I still really love this book, and I would really recommend it for anyone who is looking for a thriller. The next book that I read in January was Ali's Pretty Little Lies. This is by Cher Shepherd. This is the prequel to the Pretty Little Liars series. If you aren't familiar with Pretty Little Liars, it's about a group of girls in high school who are really close friends, and all is going well until the leader of their friend group ends up going missing, and there's this whole mystery about where she went and what's going on with her when the girls that are remaining end up receiving threatening messages that are basically threatening to expose secrets that only their friend would have known. And so it's a pretty popular series. A lot of people have watched the show. I personally just finished Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, so I wanted to pick up the books to start reading the series. I have heard the books are a lot better, so I'm giving them a go. I was kind of spoiled for the premises, I guess I'll say, of the Pretty Little Liars series, which is why I picked up the prequel first. I definitely would not recommend picking up the prequel if you have not already read the series, because there definitely are spoilers in this book for what happens in the main series, but I wasn't really too concerned with that because I kind of already knew the premises of what was happening. This book follows Allison, who is the friend that ends up going missing, and it follows her before she goes missing, so it really lets you know what's going on, her situation with her friends and her family, and all of that. This book I'm not going to get too much into because there are major spoilers for the whole series. I gave this book a 5 out of 5. This is the only 5 out of 5 stars that I gave this month, with The Woman in the Window being a close second. But this one was great. There was nothing in this book that I didn't like, and it made me so excited to start the rest of the series. I did already read the first 3 books when I was in middle school, which was quite a while ago, so I kind of forget a lot that happened, and I'm definitely looking forward to picking them up after this, because even though there are some secrets that get revealed in this that I'm guessing you're trying to figure out during the main series, it does leave a lot of questions still, so I'm definitely not spoiled for everything that happened in the book, which makes me very excited to keep reading and finding out what happened. I would definitely recommend picking up the Pretty Little Liars series, not starting with this one though, starting with the first book in the series, Pretty Little Liars, if you are looking for a mystery that is revolving around some high school students with a lot of drama as well. I love drama books. They are my favorite books, with a lot of relationship and family dynamics and all of that stuff with drama. I love it. and this has that. So if you're looking for that and you're like me and you really enjoy a good drama book with some mystery and a little bit of thriller, then I would pick up this series. The next book that I read in January was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, and I read this as an audiobook. This has two different perspectives in a way. It goes back and forth between the past and the present time. The past talks about a girl named Ellie who is 15 years old when she goes missing, and it talks about how she goes missing and what happened to her. And the present time is Ellie's mother, Laurel, who is still grieving the loss of her daughter after she was missing for 10 years and still hasn't been found. And she's going through a lot of things until she ends up meeting someone who bears a very striking resemblance to Ellie, and a lot of secrets get revealed. She ends up finding what happens to Ellie, and there's a lot more questions about everything. So this is also a thriller. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I saw the twist immediately. As soon as what was happening was even slightly hinted, I knew right away what happened, so I wasn't really invested as much as I wish I could have been, but I still really enjoyed the journey of the characters and the relationships with the characters and really discovering the truth behind what happened to Ellie. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars just because it was very predictable in my opinion, but I don't think that made it a bad thriller. I feel like it was still enjoyable to read, and I would pick this one up if you are looking for a thriller as well. I also think reading it as an audiobook adds a little bit extra creepiness whenever you are hearing about the stuff that Ellie went through, which is a little bit of a bonus. The last book that I read in January is Attachments. This is by Rainbow Rowell, and this book is told through a couple different kind of styles of writing. There are some emails as well as just regular text. So this book is about Lincoln, who is a man who works at a company, and his job is to read through the emails that get flagged as inappropriate or potentially dangerous for the company, and he has to read through them to make sure that there's nothing serious being talked about in these emails and that he can give these people a warning if they are being flagged for some reason. So one day Lincoln comes across the emails between Beth and Jennifer, two friends who are using their work email just to have casual conversations, which he is supposed to flag, but he gets really invested in their conversations and their friendship, and he ends up looking forward to reading their emails all of the time until he ends up developing feelings for one of these women, and he feels very conflicted because he has technically been invading her privacy by reading her emails, but at the same time it is his job. So he feels a bit conflicted on what he's supposed to do, and I won't really get too much into it because I don't want to give any spoilers away, but that is the basic premises of this book. I did overall really enjoy this book. I felt like it was pretty realistic in the pace. The romance wasn't crazy fast or anything like that. I felt like it developed very reasonably and I was following along with it. I really enjoyed the relationship between the two women. I loved reading their emails as well. So I understand where Lincoln was coming from because they are pretty addicting once you start reading them, and they also touch on some more serious topics. Something that isn't really talked about in a lot of books is what it feels like to be a woman who doesn't necessarily want to be a mother and the pressures that come along with that, which I really enjoyed reading about because that is a pretty unique topic that I haven't heard too much about. So that was great. This book wasn't amazing in my opinion. There wasn't anything that was shocking or anything like that. I ended up giving this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I just think that it wasn't my type of book. I'm not a huge fan of books that are just romance without any thriller or anything like that or mystery, so that's why I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, but for what it was, I think it was really good. The romance is enjoyable, and if that's something that you're looking for, then I would definitely pick this one up. Alright guys, so that wraps up my recent reads from December and January. If you want to, you can go ahead and leave a like, a comment, or subscribe if you want, and I will see you next time. Thanks guys. Bye. God bless.